Welcome to the Exodus Cry podcast, where we have honest conversations around exploitation, trafficking, sexual culture, and justice.
So, Katelynn, the first time that I got to hear your story was when we were in DC together doing the symposium. And I was just struck by just kind of the weight of your testimony and the things that you shared. And so wanted to have you on just to kind of talk more about what you went through, what you experienced, and just I think your story is a real cautionary tale of the potential of what can happen to people out there, given the dynamics of this digital age that we live in. So I'd love it if you would maybe just kind of jump in with a little bit of the background of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's great seeing you again. I remember our conversation, having a beer, and we were talking for quite a while. So that was, thank you for listening at that time, because I'm pretty sure I told you my whole story then too.
No, I really enjoyed the time that we spent.
So I guess just, May 28th, 2020, I was informed that there were 2 videos of me on Pornhub on a friend's account that I was friends with for 10 years. I confronted him right away. He admitted it. And ever since that day, I've been fighting for justice since. My case was dismissed this year. There are no laws in Massachusetts. It ruined every aspect of my life. So anything you can think that went wrong, totally went wrong with this. And I'm even still dealing with effects up to this day, that I'm still being reposted. That videos have been out there for 13 years. And it's almost like there's nothing that I can do. It's the internet, it's out there, and you're stuck with it. And a lot of what people have been asking is like, with this new age and technology, what can we do to prevent this? What can we do for our children and for adults? And I think that there is just way too much that can be done, for one, that should be done, but everyone's different. So there's a lot of education we can give to students, I think, and for kids and especially high schoolers. I think that's where we really need to start. That's where I was groomed. I was groomed by my best friend who was my age. People don't know that you can be groomed by someone your age. So that's something that needs to be educated. Vulnerability and consent and all of these terms of what people like to hush and shove under the rug is what we need to discuss. And that's what I'm here to do. So
can you talk a little bit about kind of like what your life was like prior to this moment of, discovering that videos of you in a sexual scenario had been like uploaded to the internet? What was your life like prior to that, and how did that like disrupt your world? Like, what did that feel like? If you could just kind of.
I would say that day finding out was by far one of the worst days of my life. Unfortunately, I've already had gone through so much trauma from my childhood. So it was almost like, again, something else is happening again. So from my life before was I was married. I'm separated, going through a divorce now.
But at the time you were married.
Yeah, I was married. We were about to buy a house. I was in school for funeral directing. So I was working as a CNA nursing. So I've always been in like a caring field. Then I started working for a truck company. Didn't work out. Went back into caring field. Need to take care of people. Need to save people. And while I was in school, is when I found out about these, I thought that I was going to get kicked out. I thought I was going to get fired from my job. I was working as an apprentice as a funeral director and embalmer. Where these videos were recorded, to kind of go back a little bit, because this is a huge part of my story that I'm opening up about, because I haven't gotten justice and I have to talk about this. In my hometown is where I have to go for my case. And I don't live in my hometown anymore. My exploiter doesn't live in my hometown anymore. His mother is a cop, now detective in that town, that I am going to the police station and to court. And when I was working in that town as a funeral director and embalmer, part of our job is picking up someone when they pass away. If they pass away at home, that's not on hospice, the cops have to show up to evaluate the scene. And this was, I remember a couple months after finding out about the videos, I went on a call with my coworker, and my exploiter's mom was there, helping with me on the stretcher, side by side, going down these stairs with this person. And I just remember going back to the funeral home and having a complete breakdown. Just seeing her triggered me. She didn't know what was going on at the time. I was like, does she recognize who I am? Because I used to hang out with her son all the time. It was just like, you can see it now. Like, it's very it's triggering. It's hard. So I ended up leaving my hometown, and I don't even go there now. I refuse to drive through there. I'm very feisty, as you can tell from my speech from DC. I was very feisty before and angry. I had a lot happen to me in my childhood. My mother abandoning me, my father being an addict and alcoholic. So it's always been me by myself, taking care of myself, defending myself, protecting myself. So then when it came to this, it was like I wanted to throw my hands up and say, I'm done. I am sick of things going wrong. I feel like I tried to live the American dream. I went to, I graduated high school, went to college, got married, was going to get a house, wasn't going to do the kid thing. But, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I get a career. What do? I get smacked down every step of the way. And that's kind of what it has felt like going through this. So even like it was a year after finding out about the videos, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. Like I didn't have those issues before. Like I had issues when I was a kid, but unfortunately, I guess I can say the positive with this is the type of therapy that I have received, the trauma-informed therapy, is you have to start at your childhood. So I have reevaluated and gone over, not really reevaluated, but gone over my childhood again with my therapist, and we're still working on it to this day to heal from that so it can help me heal from this. So I obviously have many issues. I have many attachment issues. I have trust issues. And I had that before the videos, but now it's like escalated times 10. I never want to commit to anyone ever again. Once my divorce is done, I never want to date ever. I don't trust men. I don't trust people. Even sometimes walking outside, I still feel exposed. You see me earlier, like I get goofy and silly. It's really just a kind of like, I'm trying to live a normal life. I'm trying to go back to just being able to go outside and not have to look over my shoulder every 5 seconds, but that's what we do. So it's like my whole life, every day, every second of the day is revolved around my safety in my head, my, comfortability, am I able to do what I want to do today? It depends on, honestly, how you wake up in the morning. Did you have nightmares? Did you wake up from a trigger with PTSD? Is my eating disorder too bad to where, hey, I can't really eat today, so I'm really weak? Every part of my life has been affected. And I guess I could say like, I guess I'm happier where it is now. I found my path, sadly. But I know that my exploiter picked the wrong person because I'm not going to stop. And it's not just about me anymore. I'm not allowing this to happen to anyone else ever again. Hearing victims and survivors commit suicide to this, I don't want to lose anyone else. And I know how suicidal I was and how I didn't want to be here and how I was being blamed even up until this day. It's my fault. And I just want survivors to know that they're not alone. And I think that was another big thing was before this happened, I had stability. I had friends. I had my husband. I had my dad. And then the videos hit and all of it's gone. Nothing is the same since. I'm not who I was before. I like who I am, but every survivor I talked to, they all agree that it's all the same thing. None of them knew what to do. We didn't want to live, and our whole lives have been turned upside down. So it's I'm 32, trying to rediscover myself, which I'm still very young. I have a lot ahead of me, which I understand that, but I'm still pissed off with what I had to go through to get to this point. Half of what I went through, I didn't deserve. Especially what my husband put me through, especially what my father put me through, and especially what this exploiter has put me through. And he hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been talked to by a detective. He lives here in California. He's living his life, doing his thing.
Thank you for being a fighter. I know you're giving courage to a lot of other people and sharing your story. And I completely agree that you have found a purpose through all of this, and it is really inspiring to see. And so, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I think, for people that maybe aren't as familiar, could you help explain the dynamic of what goes on with a site like Pornhub? You never signed up to be a pornographic actress. You never agreed to have a video appear on Pornhub. And yet there was a video.
One I didn't even know was recorded.
that you didn't even know was recorded, that was uploaded and then viewed by untold numbers of people. And then the attempt to take that down was very difficult. And then once it was taken down, it was repopulated by somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And so it's kind of like this just kind of recurring trauma that keeps occurring. If you could maybe help people again who aren't as familiar with kind of the dynamics of Pornhub. I know there are people out there who probably just are, casual consumers of pornography and think, oh, this is where I can find some porn, but don't really understand the videos they're watching may or may not be consensual or that are, damaging to somebody. So I think your testimony is really important to help kind of shed light on that.
Yeah. I think like how I look at my case is it's cut and dry. It's me. It's someone I knew. I agreed to make a video with him when I was 18 because he convinced me, and now I'm put online. Like as far as I know, like some other survivors deal with the deep fakes, the editing, the, changing names, like it just a whole bunch more to it. The videos of me are just that's me. Like why it's so turned convoluted is confusing to me. So I didn't know much about Pornhub until I went on it. So this is where I found out where Pornhub, other sites pull from them.
But in your experience, you thought you were just having a sexual encounter with your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. And I agreed to make a sex video with him because, well, he was a friend. He was going to, where he went to college, they'd go away for a month and he wanted something to remember me by.
But not for the purpose of being online.
Nope, just for him. He actually, I think it was about a month or two after I agreed to that video, he told me he showed his college roommates. It was 2 people, and I was livid. And I said, that was for you. You weren't supposed to show anybody that. And then in 2010, not even 2 years later, they're up on Pornhub. On one username, on one account, on one site was 978,000 views on one video. That's almost 1 million views on one video. There are, I can't tell you how many usernames. I counted over 45 websites, 5 other countries, and got up to 4 or 5 million views and stopped and they're still being repopulated. I saw that it was still posted this year in January. Still being watched, still being commented on.
Hearing your story, it's, it brings to mind, it's helpful to hear you share your story, to connect with the reality of the destruction and the pain that this can invoke on someone's life. I think that the attitude from Pornhub trivializing these things is really revealing about this company. Like they tweeted something, they said, #Pornhub advice. Don't film yourself having sex if you can't handle it getting leaked. Duh. And I just thought their mocking, trivializing attitude towards something like this was really revealing of the character of this company and the lack thereof. And so I know that, what's really been helpful is people like yourself and others who are giving expression to the real damage that occurs on the other side of that screen. Behind that video is somebody who didn't sign up for this, thought they were doing something, in privacy with their significant other, and yet now is out being consumed by and profited from by millions of people.
Still to this day. And not just the fact that even though, I consented to making that video with him, I had just turned 18. So what is just so convoluted in all of this is that people are in like these sites and the victim blamers are putting it all on the children as if 14, 15, and 16-year-olds know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
Excuse my language, but if their girls are so easily convinced to send a nude because at 16, 15 years old, we just want to be loved. And men have this, it's because of how society ingrained in us, this, you got to be macho and you got to be a man. So it's turned to, we need to do a cultural shift for one. But not just with these sites, that's frustrating is like, they ask for Model Hub on Pornhub for an ID to confirm that you're that user. When I had asked on sites to take them down, they asked for ID to verify you. And now you're going to ask me for an ID to prove that it's me in that video to take it down. Why? I never gave an ID for it to be uploaded. somebody stole it or you never checked, which we know Pornhub doesn't check. We know that they're lying. And even though they got rid of also that download button, when did they get rid of that? In December? You can still screen download. The videos that are of me that are still up still has X videos in one corner, AMA dates in another. People are screen recording them and reposting them to make money.
So disturbing.
So you can't win. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's on us. Like, don't take a picture, whatever. Don't do that. But what about the people that have recorded without knowing? What about, you could go to a public bathroom. There could be a camera in that toilet. You don't know. And now your whole coochie is online. You don't know. It can happen in any way, shape, or form. I just happened to agree to one of them. What about the one I didn't agree to? He put my name to, and that's the one that's still out there. So the other one, the one I agreed to, I can't really find. Luckily, we have done a lot of work to get it down. But I will give advice on if you find you're on websites and you want to take it down and you go to the takedown feature, you have to like type something up to ask. What I give for advice from what I have learned and learned from amazing lawyers is you have to say that this is me in the video. I did not give consent to this to be uploaded. I have a criminal case against my exploiter. You need to take this down ASAP. And usually if you throw in Nicosi, that really scares them too. And that's how I've been able to get a lot of my stuff down a lot quicker than a few days. It will come down a lot faster, which why it takes that long. If somebody is saying, hey, this video is non-consensual, they shouldn't even look into it. It should just take it down, period.
Right.
But we can go on that for
There's a few threads here because
Yeah.
just like, I mean, when you first start to share, you opened up a little bit about the mental health
Oh my God,
aspect
yeah.
of this. And I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that. Hearing you talk it's hard to hear, but also refreshing because you're so open about your own journey with this. And over the years that we've been investigating and researching, issues pertaining to sex trafficking, this phenomenon of quote unquote slut shaming, pornography, on and on. One of the really significant, I don't know if red flag is the right, one of the most alarming things about this are the mental health aspects of the people who end up in said video, picture, scenario, whatever it is. And there's, in our research have come across numerous people who have taken their own life as a result of something as seemingly innocuous as one picture of them being, spread throughout their school classmates. And it's really, really heartbreaking to see and to observe like how somebody's mental health can be so destabilized by this. And so that's one thread that I would love for you to elaborate on is just the mental health part of this. And eventually I'd like to, get more towards like solutions and things we can do. But I want to sound the alarm on that because obviously we don't want to lose anybody to this. It's such an injustice. And also to help people realize like it can happen to anyone. And, like we're so vulnerable living in the culture that we do. Is there anything else that you can share along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health, for one, it's kind of funny. I talk to my therapist about this all the time and I see her once a week and she actually texts me all the time. I have the amazing therapist. But people don't understand or think, all right, since you look fine on the outside, all right, you don't have bruises, you don't have cuts, you don't have broken arm, broken leg, you're not in a wheelchair, then you must be good. Your brain controls your entire body. Your body functions because of your brain. If your mental health is off, or if you are sick, like with PTSD, with depression, with anxiety, that's going to affect you physically. So perfect examples are, I actually went to the ER, it was like last month. I had the worst pain I've ever had in my life, and I can take pain, to where they actually had to give me morphine right when I got to the hospital. I couldn't handle the pain, and it was from stress. It's from stress from the trauma. Is what we chalked it up to once I got to my primary because all the tests were fine. I had fainted a couple of times last year. Luckily, I was with someone. I fainted 2 different times, just totally hit the ground. I had to do a heart monitor for a month. Everything came back fine. We're going to chalk it up to probably stress and trauma, but doctors can't diagnose that. So that's kind of what I come up with my primary. I have PTSD is every single survivor I know has it. And it can be as simple as I had actually flashbacks last week. It was the craziest thing. I was driving to my friend's house, and anytime I blinked, it was just images of the videos and him and just almost every bad thing in my life that had happened. And I almost had to pull over. And I might look okay, or we might look okay. We might put a smile on and be goofy. I cry every day. I am still very depressed. I still have major triggers that I have to make sure to use my grounding techniques and like anything I do every day because of the mental health trauma that this has caused on us. Is we have to think about our entire day and how we're going to function. And it doesn't make sense to people. And it's like, well, no, just you're fine. Just go outside. No, it's not that simple. How do I feel today? Do I feel like I want to wear like 10 sweatshirts instead of maybe just one? Or, hey, you know what? I got a tank top on today. Or throughout the day, I'm starting to feel naked. I need to throw something on. That's stuff that people don't think about. And even now, like trying to make new relationships with just even friends or people, no, I don't know. I don't know if you've seen them. I don't know if they, when I see them, I'm like, I don't know if you've seen me. I don't know if you know my situation. And now coming into this and what I'm doing, it's also, am I going to be looked at as, oh, this poor little girl, or, oh, F her because she must be easy, which I've been told that since apparently I'm a porn star. So there's just so much that we deal with every day. And a lot of it is we're arguing with ourselves. So if a solution, I want to come up with a switch for the brain to turn off emotions. If we can come up with that, that would be great. I would love to have that. But I think but in all seriousness, but the main thing I knew I needed when I found out about the videos was support. And I needed someone like you guys is listen. And I got pushed and pushed and pushed by friends and my father to keep going, and you can't give up, and you can just keep going through it. And I've looked at him like, what the hell what would you do? Would you do this? Would you deal with this? And I've had friends, oh no, I couldn't do that. But you're going to tell me how to live my life. So it was like honestly, the first 2 years I had put myself in so many situations because I felt like I was pretty much told by the people I had around me that it's not that big of a deal to get over it and move on. And then now that I surround myself with the right people, I'm traumatized way more than I accepted the first year and a half because of who was in my life. So when someone finds out there's an image, a video, anything, don't leave them. You need to check on them constantly. And make sure to show, like, especially for children and parents, is you want to have this trusting aura of you to where you can share that vulnerability. I share it with a lot of people, but I also was raised to not tell anybody anything. I think that's why I talk so much and don't shut up. But I think I just went from hiding my problems for so long after like the trauma I went through in my childhood. Now I'm like, no, I don't want people to go through this. I don't want, if someone can hear me say this, I've had people say, hey, I dealt with that too. Or, oh, I know what you're talking about. I went through that. So I'll say all of it. Like, yeah, I have an eating disorder from trauma. Never heard of this in my life. I was on a waiting list to go into a facility this year. Not too long after DC, actually. There's just...
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's never ending.
It's a lot.
It's never ending.
It's more than anyone should ever have to bear.
That's what my therapist says. And I laugh, and it's like, I'd rather that sometimes than cry. Because if I really sit here, if I were to sit here and feel sorry for myself, I could just cry for weeks. I don't want to feel sorry for myself. I'm mad what happened to me. It's not fair because I know I'm worth more than what happened to me. But I didn't feel that way before. I learned to love myself this year at 31, which is disgusting. Like I turned 32 in September, and I'm like, I'm just learning what I'm supposed to be doing good for myself instead of people pleasing everyone. But what I think the difficulty also with trying to help and educate kids and parents is every style of teaching is different in the household. So what would work for my household as a kid is going to be way different from someone else's household. So I guess it's really just making sure for parents or friends or family to give that trusting, like I said, trusting aura so they can be vulnerable. Even if, like for my nephews, I've said, hey, if you don't feel comfortable telling your parents, tell me. I'm your aunt, I want you, or tell a friend with anything, not just like with image-based sexual, but just anything. You got to have someone to go to. So if I know that there are survivors out there that have nobody, and then that's where I want to come in, and I keep my social media public. So if people need to reach out and need someone to lean on or a shoulder, I get it because I've needed that. And sometimes you need it a lot during the day, and it can be a burden for one person. So you need a huge support group. And in my area in Massachusetts, there's really not, it's not really out there, like support groups for this. But I think because of how prevalent it's becoming and how aware it's becoming, I think it's gonna start, we need to start doing that, is support groups for this. Honestly, like AA is what we need.
Absolutely. And you've had to fight for yourself. That in some ways it seems like it's taught you how to fight for others as well. And that's something I really appreciate about you, is the way that you fight for other people. And I think because you uniquely understand kind of how difficult going through something like this is.
Hi guys, this is Benji Nolot from Exodus Cry, and I'm just so excited to announce the release of my new book called Raised on Porn. This is something that I've been working on for the past 10 years and just excited to get it into your hands to help deepen your understanding of porn, its impact on our world, on our lives, and what we can do to heal from it. And so I think you're going to find this to be an extremely insightful and helpful resource, whether you are somebody who is struggling with porn consumption, whether you're a parent and wanting to help have better conversations with your kids and protect your kids, whether you're an educator, whether you're in a relationship and this has in some way affected your relationship. I think this book's gonna be a super helpful resource. I wrote it in such a way to be that resource that I wish was there when I started into this. So it's both comprehensive and in-depth. And if you're looking for a one-stop shop, so to speak, I think this is that book that you can get a hold of that's really going to give you the big picture and an in-depth way of how porn is affecting our world and us as individuals and our relationships and our children. And again, what we can do to heal, to find freedom, to better our society. And so I encourage you, get a hold of this book, Raised on Porn, and share it with a friend as well. Thanks so much.
What are some of the things that have been helpful to you, either from your therapist or through your support system? Like, what do you feel you have needed as you've been going through this? And then what are some things that others have done for you that have been helpful?
I wish the number one thing that I regret, I didn't take time off. I should not have gone back to work. That was my number one mistake. I got into therapy a month later. It was like almost 30 days. So I say get into therapy if you can, trauma informed, because that's where you learn your grounding techniques. So for the perfect example, and I love how my therapist says I can always tell what she says because all therapists use this. But for your brain with the hemispheres, how there's two sides. When we're in a trigger, we got to re-regulate that. So when you see somebody standing, if they're rocking back and forth or they're tapping, when you're doing something opposite on both sides, you're re-regulating your hemispheres and your brains to get your body back online. Is pretty much what it is. So if I'm in a trigger and I'm shaking, as long as I know my techniques, whether it could be breathing, it could be driving, listening to music. I am in Massachusetts, weed's legal. I do smoke a lot of weed for my rheumatoid, for my PTSD, for sleeping, for eating. Actually, a lot of survivors to have a medical card because it's better than taking 100 pills. I'm on a lot of medications. And having your safe person, you need your safe places. So if I don't feel comfortable at home where I feel triggered, like this year in June, after I got back from DC and my father pulled some crap and showed up on my door, slamming on it, pounding out, calling me an effing moron. I went into such a trigger to where I was sitting beside my couch with, I think I had gotten pepper spray. It's just crying, scared, thinking somebody's going to come into my house to kill me. Somebody was going to come in to rape me. I don't know why, but that's what PTSD does to your brain, to where you're just like, somebody is coming to get you. We don't know how, but it's going to happen. And I just remember sitting there like, oh my gosh, like I'm alone now and there's like, what do I do? And I knew, even though my home was my safe place, I need to have another outlet. So like my best friend, Brittany, she's my safe place. I'll go to her house. So those are important too. Like the beach could be a safe place. I like to go and sit at the beach. Listening to your body was the hardest thing that I had to learn in therapy, is when you're going through the triggers and the emotions, you have to feel where it is so that you can recognize it for next time. And trauma and people pleasers, or like me, who as a child was neglected horrifically, I did not know how to listen to my body up until this year. at 31. I didn't know like, oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's pain, or oh, that's anxiety. Had no idea, which is so sad. So there's a lot of things for me that I needed. It's the support and it's safe places. It's you got to feel safe. And the safety that changes for survivors is, and I put it on my Instagram story today. Like I remember sitting on the airplane in the middle seat. Like I knew I was safe, but it's like internally I don't feel safe because I'm by myself and I don't know who these people are around me. And it's I have to deal with that every day. And it's like, so for anyone that just goes outside to get in their car and go to work, we have to think about that. Not you, but in general, like people that it just happens. I had to think about what I'm going to wear and, how I'm going to present myself. And, oh, wait, I'm in a trigger. I got to set my mood because I'm going to end up crying. Like there's so many things that it is the craziest tornado in our brains. If you could look at it, I don't know.
No, it's helpful to hear you talk and explain that. I think a lot more people can relate than maybe you even realize.
Yeah.
Although not everyone has been through what you've been through, I think just we live in this like corporately sexually traumatized planet where either something has happened to us or we know somebody or a parent or some situation. And as those things begin to accumulate, it can significantly diminish our mental health and our well-being. And I know I myself have gone through really difficult seasons where I've really struggled with depression and just having, a friend reach out. Like I remember this time I was really struggling and a friend reached out and sent me a text and just said, you mean the world to me. That was like just all they said in the text was just this phrase, you mean the world to me. And just being reminded that I matter to somebody.
That's huge.
Like, okay, I can take a deep breath. Like we can get through this. And it seems like you have some really amazing people in your life, your best friend. I know how much our team at Exodus Cry loves you. And
I say that like my support people, which is, Exodus Cry, Nicosi, the survivors I met in DC, these other nonprofits, all the survivors I've met around the world. Like those are my people. That's what I call is my people. And then I have my friends and my family. It's funny, not funny, but you mentioned that comment, how your friend sent you that text. There are times, and I'm sure almost everyone might have felt this in their life, where you just don't want to wake up. Not like I want to wake up, but it was like, I just don't want to feel what I'm feeling. I don't want to wake up feeling this tomorrow. And my friend had sent me a text the next morning. I was texting her the night before. She's the one that I always tell if I had thoughts. And she would stay on the phone with me for hours and just listen. And she would text me the next day saying, I would text her like, hey, good morning or whatever. And she's like, hey, I'm really glad you woke up today. And it's like those, like you said, it's those words like, I'm glad I woke up today too. Like, oh, you're right. Today is a little better. But in that moment, when you're feeling in that depressed state, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like everything is over. And then when you have those friends that are like, or family that's like, you just get over it, move on, it makes it worse. And I cannot express to people enough to not do that. It's called toxic positivity. You can't do it.
Life is moving at such a pace that doesn't create space for going through these dark valleys, and especially when those dark valleys are extended periods of time. And so there is kind of this mentality of like, just get it together, keep, and I love the thoughtfulness and the discernment that your friend had to send you a text like that. Like, I'm glad that you woke up this morning, because it's not something you would think to normally send somebody. But when you're in that place, those are the kind of things that help give you like that grounding again, that framing again of like, okay, I can slow down enough just to acknowledge that the sun has come up again today, and I'm here breathing in and out, and it's important to be able to slow down in this fast-paced world and create space for yourself. And
that's huge too, is you have to put yourself first in this, because if you don't, stress can kill you. It can. Like your body takes an effect on so many levels. I can't even, so much has changed because of all of this. Like just as simple as that eating disorder was like insane to me. But you need to make the space for yourself to love yourself. And to if you could show yourself that you love yourself, it doesn't matter if anybody else does. Because if you're too focused on how everyone looks at you and if they love you, at the end of the day, you're still alone with yourself, not loving yourself. So I had to do that, and it took time. It also, patience is huge with this. And I know for some people, they just can't handle it. Like the friends I had, they just couldn't handle the situation. That's fine. If that's what they think that they could do is just get over it and move on. And then I also was told that they said that, what is she a survivor? What has she even survived? It's like, do you see what I'm doing? I am putting my entire life out there to help other people. Because what I went through for the past 2 years, I don't want anybody to go through for a day. They find out they're online, it should be taken care of just like that, instantly. It's like, when people are murdered, all right, well, let's go help them right away. I know it's like totally different, totally a different spectrum, but it's still damaging because I'm living this the rest of my life. I have to live with this the rest of my life. My privacy, my safety, stolen from me. I'll never get that privacy back, ever in my life. Those comments can never get taken away. And now I have to think the rest of my life, as long as the internet is there, my videos are there. I hate even saying they're not mine. But my case did reopen this year, and I would like to discuss a little bit on that, on what we go through with survivors is law enforcement. I actually had to argue with my detective and remind him that I was a victim and that this is secondary trauma and that he needs to be retrained. And I was hysterically crying and screaming, and he was saying to me, I don't know why you're giving me attitude and rolling your eyes. And I just remember looking at him and I was just like, you're not the fucking one going through this. And then when I found out that I was on a bunch more sites, I reached out to my advocate and lawyer to let the detective know. The detective wanted me to send where the sites were, wanted me to give the information that my connection found. And I said no. So I sent the title, and also on X videos, you can add hashtags. So I added nonconsensual to that video. But I sent the title of the video to my advocate, and I said, he can search the title and click on links. If he can't find it, he's a terrible detective. Victims have to find all the work. All the evidence I found. My detective did get a search warrant through MindGeek. Congratulations. I have over 60 screenshots, actually way more than that, probably close to 100, of just where I have been posted and everything, all evidence of everything that I could find. And I have it all organized in folders. That's what we do. And we search and we search and we search. And like you said earlier, it just keeps retriggering it. And I also call it being virtually raped. I'm being virtually raped by people I don't know. I know there are men out there or women or whoever, there are people, we're just going to say people that are touching themselves to my naked body. That's how I have to say it to people.
Yeah, because one of the things we know from neurology is this idea of neural coupling and how we experience something. Like there have been studies done on the brain that show that if you watch the brainwave lengths and compare them to actually going through something versus watching something, they're like almost identical. And so there is that vicarious, this is something that we've talked a lot about, is like the digital rape or neurological rape, whatever you want to call it, but it's the way that people will sometimes experience, children will experience exposure to pornography online is almost like a sexual assault that's happened to them. And in your situation, I can't imagine the pain of the reality of knowing that these images, are being put out there and that other people are digesting those and consuming those and watching those for their own pleasure. It's awful.
And people think it's funny to joke about it.
It's horrible.
Like when the speech was put up from DC on Exodus Cry, before for TikTok, and it was just like I'm sitting here telling my story and how it's ruined my life, and it's like, oh, well, I want to watch it. And those are the comments that are constant. Even when I first found out about him in the beginning, I remember one of my coworkers, he saw me crying and I kind of told him a little bit. And he went the next day, he was like, oh, I tried finding your videos. I couldn't find them. And I just looked at him. I was like, you think what is wrong with, you sit there like, is this what my friends and people that I know that know me are really saying to me right now? I had a friend that said, oh, I watched him. Hey, you did a good job. Hey, you had some good comments. I'm like, what the?
Your outrage and disgust is absolutely appropriate given the context of this situation. And I just want to commend you for giving expression to that. It's horrible. It's awful. It should not happen. And people in your situation should not have to fight as hard as they do to hold companies like MindGeek and Pornhub accountable. And all I can do is just say, for what it's worth, thank you for making the powerful choices that you have made to fight for yourself, to stand up, to keep going, to plug into therapy. Like, as difficult as I can only imagine as your life has been, what I have seen consistently is you making powerful choices to continue to fight for yourself, fight for others, and it is changing the world. It is, there's no progress without struggle. This is what struggle looks like.
People think like, be the bigger person and putting your foot down are like two total, it's the same thing. So people say, be the bigger person, like move on, get over it. I'm like, no, I'm going to be the bigger person by putting my foot down to make sure it changes. That's how crap changes is putting your foot down. And I feel like I had like a feistiness when I was a kid, but I didn't know where to like put it. I just, and I guess I'm using it right now, but it's still surreal to me. It still hasn't affected me. I think as much as people have said, like my voice has made an impact on their life, or, hey, because of you, like, I wish I was as strong as you. And it's like, it's not even that. It's not like victims need to come forward. It's just, I got this fight. If I have so much support and so much amazing behind me that if there are victims that are struggling to stay alive every day, then you fight that fight to stay alive every day. You're already fighting enough. I got this. We don't need, it's not like, hey, I'm doing this, you should do it too. Like how people say, well, I struggled, you should. No, I'm still going through hell going through this. I don't want anyone to go through this like I have.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. I hate that. So and I used to be a very judgy person, which would make sense for my past, but also being non-judgmental and listening, like how you can sit here and just listen. And you might obviously have different viewpoints, but it's like, that is huge. That is like the number one thing survivors need is that sympathy and that, holy shit, that sucks. The whole, it's okay not to be okay. Instead of saying you gotta be okay. No, it's okay to have shitty days and cry. And anytime I had those days and I was told to get out of it, I wish I didn't. I wish I stayed, because even my therapist says, you're gonna have, those days you're gonna cry. You gotta feel that. You gotta let it happen. The more you push it away, what do we do as Americans? Let's push it away, shove it. And then here comes school shootings and here comes all this other,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
So and for all those people that have those trolls that have made those comments, I just think it's emblematic of this sociopathic culture that we've lived in. It's a soulless culture, and those people are wrong. And God forbid, I would hate for anything to have to happen in their life to wake them up to the seriousness and the sobriety of what it would be like to see your daughter in that situation, your sister in that situation, a friend, a family member, like somebody close enough to you to finally wake you up from this deluded, soulless person that you are, who gets online to mock and cruelly comment about somebody else's exploitation. And so, I get stirred up about that piece of just feeling defensive over people like yourself and that have gone through this. I was just talking with Helen recently about this idea of that Albert Schweitzer said that the tragedy of life is what dies inside a person while they live. And I don't think that many people have really quantified the real tragedy experienced by those who have gone through this injustice. Because if you have, you would never make a comment like that. And so really those people are just saying about they're just admitting their own immaturity, lack of empathy, cruelty as human beings. And so I just, shame on them. And
physical violence does come out of this too. Like there's a lot of survivors that have had to move. They've had stalkers because they've been so exploited on porn sites and known that they have people coming up to them and recognizing them in person. So it's not like, okay, because people are like, oh, it's just an image online, like forget about it. No, there are insane people out there that will find you. It happens. Come on. So it's like, we have to worry about that too. There's so much we have to worry about. I couldn't even get a harassment prevention order against my exploiter because he said sorry. That's all right. It's all good.
I remember one of the survivors of the Girls Do Porn case sharing with me how when she goes out, how she feels like everyone has just seen her. There's that feeling of, because you don't know. If you see, okay, millions of people have downloaded this, I felt so much peace in my own conscience just to be able to say to her, I've never seen it, like for
I
what
hear
it's
it
worth,
all the time.
I've
Yeah,
never
well,
seen
I
it.
haven't seen it. I'm like, okay.
Not like in a defensive way, but just
Yeah.
like there are those of us out there, and like,
But you also don't watch porn. Yeah. Anyway.
I remember seeing a movie that depicted a certain actress in like a sexual scenario, and then later seeing a different movie of her where she was just like in a normal role or whatever, and I just had this weird experience where. I remember feeling like the interconnectedness of the human family, and I had this sensitivity towards there's something, and in this person's case, I mean, it was a movie they had signed, it was just whatever, like. But I had this sensitivity towards the interconnectedness of the human family and the sensitivity and vulnerability of the sexual spirit, like on our humanity, and how easily that can be disrupted. And I just had this feeling of like, I don't want to expose myself to anything that would compromise that. I want to feel at peace in my own conscience that I'm living with integrity I may never meet that person, but I want to honor you in the secrecy of my own conscience and heart and mind. And I think that your story and other people's stories are this really important reminder for people on the other side of the screen, like at home on their keyboard or whatever. You don't know what videos you're accessing. You don't. And like, I don't want to have to feel in my conscience that I have contributed in the exploitation of somebody else whose video didn't sign up for or ruined their life or whatever. And so I would never be like, oh, hey, Katelynn, like, you got to go share your story. But the zeal that you have to share it, I'm like, please do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it is that reminder of, guys, like, so many people think pornography is harmless, even, yeah. And like, there's a whole other truth out there, which is the real story, that it isn't just this innocuous thing. And especially on sites like Pornhub that pride themselves on mocking the experience of people whose lives are destroyed and have made a multi-billion-dollar company on these user-based upload videos that don't require age or consent verification.
Yeah.
And so on that note, what do we need to do? Like, where does the fight go from here? Because I feel your outreach, I feel your pain, and like, lead us in this. Like, help us understand, like, where do we need to take this to change this?
What's frustrating is that there are 2 states in the United States that don't have laws against revenge porn, also known as image-based sexual abuse. And my state in South Carolina happened to be it. And when I met with other survivors, this is how I figured out what we need. When I met with other survivors from around the world, and even though their countries, entire country has a law, not America, we're by state. So their countries have laws, but the United States runs the world. We're the leader. So it doesn't benefit, if we don't have a law, it's not helping them. And I can't tell you how many survivors from other countries have said, because you guys are so behind, it's screwing us. Which is just, to me, I was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, that's how the world works. Wasn't thinking that. So yeah, let's get a federal law to pass, and not even a state law. It needs to be federal. And it needs to be at least prison time. This whole like, oh, slap on the wrist, it's going to keep happening. Why do you think people keep, will keep stealing stuff? Mm-hmm. They end up just getting slaps on the wrist and go home. This is way more than that, because this affects the person's entire life, the rest of their life. Just like, unfortunately, I will compare it to death. Somebody's dead, they're not coming back. My video, those videos are out there. People have seen them. I can never take that back, ever in my life. It's not like, oh, hey, I made a stupid decision and I had broccoli in my teeth when I took a school picture. No, there are videos of me that, that's it. That's my life. And so yeah, the internet needs to catch up. I'm sick of hearing that it's on teenagers to be told not to take pictures. I'm tired of hearing that. Like, even at 20 years old, you're still stupid and learning. Like, for males' frontal brains, their brains are not fully formed until 25. I mean, yeah, you should know responsibilities, not do stupid stuff. But there are things that people do, especially kids and teenagers, where we make our mistakes and learn. So especially even the cases that you've heard of, and I always wanted to say this, I forget the name of the person, but he raped someone behind a dumpster. I think he was about to go into college, and he only did like 3 months probation because, his poor future. What about her future?
Right.
What about my future?
Right.
So it's like, we need to hold, for one, the exploiter is accountable, because my future is, I'm making it something, but it's a fight the rest of my life. And the internet, big tech, these sites, if these sites like Pornhub is saying, we're going to verify, then verify. You have the money to do it. Do it.
Yeah.
And like same with Google. Screw you, Google. You can still Google the title of my videos, and the original site sources are still there. Google, take that down. If it's deleted, take the site source down. There's so many things that can be done. Like,
why haven't they?
I don't know. I don't know why. Even on, I think it was X videos, I saw that policy literally states, we do not check for consent or verification of videos. You can upload whatever you want.
It's criminal.
So what about people that will go to the store and like do videos under people's skirts? It can happen to anybody, any type of, it's not just sex. It could be a picture. It could be a body part. Like for me, I guess what was lucky around the time was Facebook just started coming out. So, and I was on MySpace at the time that I agreed to that video. I didn't get blasted on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I'm sure it might be at some point or was, but that was my luck, I guess. Which I don't know if that makes it better because it's videos compared to a picture. Either way, there really should never be a comparison. I still do that to this day all the time where I'm like, my story's not as bad as this person. That's not what it is. It still sucks.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be in school, in health class, this needs to be discussed in health class. You're going to talk about STDs. You're going to talk about safe sex. We're going to talk about technology, and we're going to talk about how porn affects the brain, because that is sex education. We're not just going to talk about the body parts. We're going to talk about every part of it. Let's talk about sexual assault. Let's talk about what consent means. Let's talk about, hey, if you see this on porn, does not mean you get to do that to a person. I mean, in DC, we heard the nurse talk about, kids doing it to like 6-year-olds on their brothers or sisters because they see porn and they are reenacting it. There's just so much to it that people do not understand or realize. And I noticed that when I start talking to a lot more people, especially men for allies, like they actually say to me, man, I never saw it that way. Hey, I'm way more cautious when I watch porn now, which it's like, okay, thanks. Just don't do it. But not saying, what can I say? If people want to make porn or videos, that is on them. These sites all of them just need to be erased and start fresh if that's what the world needs to be, if we need to have sex. But realistically, these sites ruined my life and these sites allowed this to happen and they made so much money off me. I am so broke, can't pay my bills. Where's my money? Can I have that now, please? If I'm out there and people want me to get over it, then let me get paid for it then. At least let me get something out of it. So there's a lot of steps of stuff we need to do. The law, education, training. For one, let me personally train my detective. Thank you. Same with judges too. All of them. Everyone needs to be trained by survivors. We know what it's like. I know exactly when I look at a survivor and I can say I'm not good. They can look at me. I can look at them, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, you're not good. Okay, you know, it's just
you've been through it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to sit here and talk on an issue and that I don't know about. But if something that has happened to me that is traumatic and is this severe, yeah, I'm talking about it.
One thing that is, disturbing in all of this is you were referring to, what about the videos where, somebody has a secret video of them taken? Is when I remember when Lila started to investigate Pornhub, and we discovered that it was infested with videos of non-consensually based videos. So videos of a secret recording of a girl in a dressing room, or, and all these different scenarios. And what was so disturbing about it isn't just that these videos were populating Pornhub and being monetized, but the amount of people who were actually seeking out specifically those kind of non-consensual videos. And so it's like we've created this whole market.
It's disgusting.
Yes. That feeds on the exploitation of others.
Yeah. I didn't realize how severe it was until I got into this.
And that's why I think the legal part of this is so important. Putting teeth in the law to protect both sides of the camera. And what I mean by that is for people who are in the videos, the websites, the tech companies need to be held responsible and accountable for ensuring that those individuals are of age, that the videos are consensual, that they have agreed for it to be on the, all of those things, those protections have to be there by law with teeth to protect people who either inadvertently appear in a video or didn't agree to being on a website, or there need to be more protections for people in your situation. And then for people who are just surfing online that inadvertently come across
upon it,
porn, especially children.
You put in boobs, what does it bring you to? The most aggressive, violent videos on Pornhub, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so and there have to be laws around that as well, to where the hosting and distributing of all pornographic content will be required to be behind an age verification wall that would require a government issued ID to access. So there's some really straightforward legislation that I think would give teeth to the law to help bring accountability to at least the companies that are profiting from this.
I hate to say this, but I'm blaming the old white patriarchy in legislation. Unfortunately, we don't want to change. We're just going to keep it the same. Well, it's not working. Times are changing consistently. Technology is going to be way different 10 years from now, and it's going to have to change then to where we're all trying to figure it out again. And it's like, if this is an industry, if pornography is an industry, why are we not treating it like other industries? Like, all right, if you're going to go for nursing, there's a lot of background checks and, orientations and all of this and that. And same with you're an electrician. You got to, take your classes, you take the code classes, or, with OSHA, there's, if this is something they want to look at as a job, then take it seriously like a job. If people making money off of it, it's a job, right? You make money, it's a job. Okay. So if people are making money off of wanting to make, pornography, then just make sure it's done the right way. Yeah. What is so hard about that? Why is it okay to expose all of these people for profit? Are we back in what are we in? The freaking 1400s? This is disgusting.
Right. And it's only gotten worse. It seemed like when the internet came out, like, oh man, this is introducing us to something we've never seen before. And yet since then, by a lack of, these government regulations and laws and restrictions and moderations and things of that nature, that it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So when I think about the future and like how technology is going to change, I'm like, if we don't take this seriously, like people don't realize how important the Trafficking Hub campaign really is and the Protect Children Not Porn campaign really is. These campaigns are not like it's not like a neat social thing to get involved with. It's like we're demanding changes that unless they are enacted, we are going to see things get much worse. More people victimized, more children's innocence taken from them prematurely. And so it's hard to imagine, where it goes from here if these changes aren't made.
If technology, because it's becoming such a technologically based world, like I had said in DC, I think about it and it's like, I know, all right, my youngest nephew's 15, and it's funny because his dad would be like, oh, at his age, I didn't have a phone. It's funny how parents say that. And it's like, well, that's just what the world is now. Now we do have phones. So and I talked about it. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, back in the day, my dad could get a candy bar and a soda for a nickel. Yeah, that's not what it is anymore. Whatever. I don't have to walk uphill both ways to get to school in the snow. But since times are changing with that, it's like, we kind of keep up with other stuff, but we're not keeping up with technology when the world is becoming technology. Mm-hmm. So, if we have to keep up with policies and when I was a funeral director, I have to take classes every year. I have to take, update my license every year and take education courses, CEU. Sorry, I can't even think of the name. It just needs to be way more regulated, especially with kids having phones in their hands, almost all of them, even as young as 5-4-year-old. I mean, they could probably work a phone better than I could. So since this is what's happening and we know what's happening, let's get technology on board with that. What is the big deal? Well, why they can't keep up with it? Look at Disney. If there's a Disney, song that someone tries to use, it gets taken down instantly. It's like there's so many things that they can do. And I think honestly, what it all boils down to is money. It's all about money and they want to make money.
Yeah. Well, I know that your testimony has inspired a lot of people. You were recently on the Dr. Phil show. And so I'm just hoping that, we'll continue to see more and more momentum until we reach a critical mass that brings about the kind of changes that we're talking about. And I have hope, as difficult as this struggle has been, I have hope that we will continue to wake up more people until we get to the point of realizing that the safety and well-being of people is more important than the bottom line profits of big tech and big porn.
Yep. And everyone says they want to protect children, right? Everyone's always worried about children. We have to protect our children. This is part of protecting our children.
Absolutely.
And with the PROTECT Act, if that can come out with that federal law, there are no laws protecting adults. And I remember I was just talking to somebody last night about this. I was 18, the video I agreed to. I had literally just turned 18. I'm like, so just that one couple months, I'm instantly, well, you're an adult, you know everything that you're doing, and well, that's your fault. It's like, well, I'm not, in all honesty, with him too, yeah, we were both dumb at that time and we were best friends and whatever. Yeah, there's just...
Yeah.
There's so much.
Our End Teen Porn campaign is demanding that we raise the age of consent to appear in pornography from 18 to 21.
I agree.
And I think that would also help because like you said, it's just this vulnerable transitional age. We've put parameters around drinking. We put parameters around, going to a comedy club and have said, you need to be 21 to go to a comedy club. And yet, you want to go in the porn industry, or not even go into the porn industry, but somebody recruits or, deceptively recruits you or somehow preys on you when you're 18. Oh, well, that's perfectly legal. Yeah. So I think
even taking your face, they could take your face and just put it on the body. There you go. That's all it takes.
Scary.
That's it. I mean, look at AI. Look at what they're doing with it. It's getting way more involved to where it needs to change now, for sure.
You give me hope. Your fight has been so strong. And I know that our whole team from Exodus Cry has taken so much courage from your fight.
Guys.
And yeah, we love you too. We love you
Thank
too. And just thank you so much for just sharing your story and continuing this fight. We're with you in it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You can check out all our podcast episodes, articles, and films at exoduscry.com and join the daily conversation by following Exodus Cry on all major social platforms.